I want to touch on a couple things with the 1016 Ferrari F8. Let's just get this right out of the way. The F8 in stock form, I just don't like the look of it very much, but I love the sound of it. The 1016 exterior package on this car fixes every aspect of the car I wasn't sold on. Not that I'm in the market. But what I think is even more cool is that it looks like it is wrapped in Nose-A-Tech's anti-social social club Spectrum film. I adore how this material looks. The bright purple, the orange, the gold, the blue, the green. It's so close to how I'd want my own custom midnight purple to be on a GTR or something like that. I want the green pearl on a purple car so bad. Midnight Purple 3 gets you purple, blue, and gold. Midnight Purple 2 gets you purple, blue, teal, orange, gold, and brown. I'd want to replace the blue and possibly even the teal of the Midnight Purple 2 with shades of green. God, that would look... Can I say sexy? Is that allowed? I don't care. You know it would be. It would be. All right, let's do this. Mustang Marathon. Even though I haven't had one for a while, I want to rapid fire some really awesome things I've seen related to the Mustang platform. Even though this car isn't with us anymore, thanks to Big Ultima Energy, I still think it's prudent we talk about why that dude in blue's Sub-Zero 10-speed S550 GT was special. It was worked on by National Speed and equipped with a VMP Odin supercharger and made 750 wheel horsepower on a stock motor, apart from the supercharger. It wasn't built, nothing like that. Talk about it being a hell of a daily too, and you know for a fact that the 10 speed is keeping you in the power constantly, so you're just ripping and it never stops. I guess the downside is that the 10 speed downshifts aren't that great and you lose gas mileage, but who cares, all right? Still a sad loss though, but it's good that everyone is okay. But do you know what happens when you build a Coyote? Well, you get into the 4-figure power numbers. I mean, good grief. Here's a Roush Mustang with a built Coyote. This would be a Gen 2 Coyote, I believe. So VMP put the Gen 3R on it. This thing made 1,001 wheel horsepower, and boy oh boy, I'd be thrilled. I gotta ask though, do Roush Mustangs use the MT82? I just never hear good things about the MT82 cars. It always sounds like they're made of glass. I guess T56 or TR6060 is the way to go, or whatever it is in the GT350. The TR1605, it's a Tremec, that's all I know. I can never remember the part number for it. It's in the Mach 1 as well, or it was. Ripped to the Mach 1. It's in the Dark Horse though, I'm pretty sure. Couple of neat things you may want to see. That dude in blue had got to drive a bolt-on modded 650, and while it was a 10-speed, even he commented on the Dark Horse's drivetrain edge over the standard manual GT. So, VMP has partnered with Whipple to bolt a Gen 6 3.0 supercharger onto a 10-speed S650 GT. The power? Well, 800 wheel horsepower. This is a huge option to have, especially since, as far as I'm aware, no one has cracked the ECUs yet. I'm assuming they're able to tune these cars through a partnership with Ford, like they have the license to do it or something. But interestingly, this is unverified. I'm just kind of curious. I've seen a lot of people arguing in the comments, which is not unusual for car content, that a lot of people who have this tune or this package or whatever is apparently really bad for catalytic converters. It apparently melts them getting the Whipple tune or whatever it is, or the VMP tune. Apparently, it's not really all that street worthy by the EPA's standards. Not that we really like them all that much. So I guess just run Bluetooth cats. You know what I mean. Let me refer to the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence refers to the pursuit of happiness as an unalienable right, something that should not and cannot ever be taken away. So tell me how, because this is probably how the government thinks, and how some Karens think, tell me how a race car that is heavily modified, which impacts its emissions to a degree, and is driven extremely infrequently on tracks in front of spectators that want to see it, are willingly there at sanctioned events, is detrimental to anyone's living experience. How does that infringe upon the rights of others? Because if you can't make an argument that it does, there's a problem. Heavily modifying cars is an expensive hobby enjoyed by a small part of the world population. There's a lot of us, but it is definitely still a niche. Putting the automotive hobby in a regulatory stranglehold for the sake of the world and its environment doesn't math out when you realize it's still a niche when we're talking about especially the upper echelon vehicles. A $300,000 passion project built off of a street car isn't infringing upon anyone's rights because there's no tangible impact it can have on the quality of life of the greater population. But the government wants to fine the owner of this theoretical car for tampering with the engine, the fuel system, the function of the emissions equipment, the sound, or whatever else, when on the grand scale it means nothing from an environmental standpoint. Targeting cars like this is petulant, and I would like to argue that it actually infringes upon the unalienable right to pursue happiness, and for some people, building their dream custom vehicles is their pursuit of happiness. Stopping that when it hurts absolutely no one is a cruel joke. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. Like, how is my sports car so detrimental to society that it needs to be regulated out of existence? Why are all the politicians and the celebrities flying around on private jets allowed to have an opinion on how I affect the world with my one sports car? It's ridiculous. Why do we have to suffer the opinion and decision making of people who pretend to give a shit about the rest of us? Moving on to Mustang stuff. The APR GTC 200 wing for the S550, it's a really nice part. I kind of miss having an APR wing on one of my cars, but I'm not putting an APR wing on my M3. It's going to be, I think it's called an AJ Hartman wing. But what I like about the APR wing for the S550 Mustang is that I think it looks actually better than the GT500 wing on the Shelby car, the OEM thing, because it actually hangs over the back of the trunk a little bit. But I get it, manufacturers can't get a car into compliance in most areas if the wing hangs super far back beyond the rear bumper. I don't know why, I don't care, because when you do it with an aftermarket part, it doesn't matter. It's probably illegal, but anyone who enforces that possible rule is about as big of a loser as you can possibly be. Classic restorations. Remember how I was talking about what I'd put a Roush Yates FR9 Cup car engine into? Well, what about this? Something like a Ford Mustang Boss 429 in the style of this classic recreations build. Bare chassis restoration, roll cage, maybe a dual clutch, that'd be kind of cool. Then my wife would be able to drive it. Obviously lower it, fender flares and wider tires, and man, with that Cup car sound with the proper side exit boom tubes that I don't fully understand, I bet it would be a work of art. That would be a nice thing going down the road. On the other end of the spectrum though, you've got Weston Champlin's Cummins Mustang. How could you possibly make it any more awesome? Well, to Weston, the answer must have been really obvious, because it wasn't to me, because he would have said 1,500 horsepower. And with the stat coming out of the hood reaching out into space, it's like a redneck scientist's unicorn. And I'm sure there's a country slang pun hidden in there somewhere. He's from Kansas as well, so I'm sure there's a gold mine of possibilities for dad jokes, but it's just cool. It's cool. This goes on the list of things that make men go, hell yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, I wasn't initially all that sold on the S650 Mustang, especially the way it looks. And I guess I didn't have the imagination necessary to see if it could be modified to actually look badass. Well, thankfully, Shelby has the vision that I don't. And the S650 Super Snake is, in my opinion, a work of art. The front bumper with the black accents perfects the front end. The more aggressive hood and the side skirts complete the car, and the duckbill style trunk looks so good that I'd be curious to see what it looks like without that epic wing. 830 horsepower, Whipple 3.0, probably not unlike the VMP package, I'll be perfectly honest. But unfortunately, I'm willing to bet you can't use a dark horse to make a Super Snake, so no Shelby Mustangs with a Tremec transmission for you, even though that's exactly what I would want for this car. So, sorry but not sorry, but I guess it made too much sense, I guess. I suppose you could get one of these and do a T56 swap yourself, but these cars and their electronics are so complicated, I wonder if it would just freak out a little bit.